Hello guys, Bruno Bartolota speaking. I'm a French photographer calling from the beautiful city on the French Riviera called Nice. Actually on my screen here is a view of my hometown city Nice. But I am very fortunate to be living in this beautiful country of Panama, exactly in Panama City, Central America. And if you don't know this incredible city, I will strongly suggest you come and visit it because this is a terrific place. And you may, like me, want to stay living there for a little while before moving on to someplace else, no? Today this is my first tutorial ever, so please be tolerant with me. Also, I'm French, so sometimes my English may be a little approximate, so I do apologize for that in advance. What we're going to do in this tutorial is I'm going to show you a technique for what we call time blending. Time blending is basically a technique that allows you to take two pictures at different moments during the day and then bring them together within Photoshop. In this example that you have here, this is a sunset shot of the city of Nice. So basically you have a sky, that's a sunset sky, but normally at sunset you don't have any lights within the city. Those come later as the blue hour shows up or the night comes in. So basically what I did here is I took the sunset shots and I plugged in the lights of the city that you should normally see at night, which gives probably a more interesting look, no? So it's an easy process, actually. It's not that difficult, even though it may sound a little bit complicated. It doesn't require a lot of technical knowledge, and I do have been trained in photography by an empirical way, and I'm the kind of guy that thinks that the more you try it, then the techniques comes along. So basically, let's start jumping into shots. So what we're going to do is that we're going to take this shot, which is the raw just right out of the camera, and we're gonna within this shot that we're gonna edit within the Lightroom. Then we're gonna plug in the the lights from this picture, which is a blue hour shot that was probably taken something like um, 30 minutes later, basically. Both shots have been taken on a tripod, so basically just a few words on how to shoot this kind of stuff. No, what you really need to be careful is once you have your composition, not to move, not to zoom in or out, because otherwise your pictures are going to be a bit different, and there's no way you're going to be able to blend the lights perfectly within the first shot. So if you look at this picture, this was taken at 28 millimeters and this one also at 28 millimeters. So I didn't change a single thing. I just waited the right time. I just waited for the lights to appear and then I took the second shot. So you could notice here I have three versions of it because I do bracket my shots all the time. I'm to photography with HDR, so I kind of use to take a normal exposure, a -2 exposure, and a +2 exposure. I never know whether I'm going to use just one or the whole file or where I'm going to edit, so I usually do it. In this case, you could probably just get away with just the normal exposure, but usually if you want to do some more digital blending here in the underexposed, you have a nicer sky, and here in the overexposed you have all the details within the city. So basically my workflow starts with selecting and doing into Lightroom an HDR 32-bit image. It's not necessary, it's something that I do. I usually process a lot my pictures, and sometimes when you pitch the pictures, just one exposure, you may get some artifacts or some noise, and usually just blending the three exposure and getting all the information within the same image in 32-bit image usually allows you a lot more trick without creating any post-processing problems. To do so, I select my three images, I right click, I go to photo merge and HDR. So here you have preview that's going to appear. There's very little options in the Lightroom process of HDR. And as you're going to see, the result will not differ at that point a lot from the original exposure. So here it is. I didn't do any degauss because I don't have any moving elements within the scene. I would use it if I have, for example, some light streaks from a car or something like that, and maybe using the overexposed, since it's a longer exposure, you may have some nicer streaks here. So when you try doing a low, medium, or high, you can have some good surprises here, but you don't have much control within Lightroom. The idea is really to get a single raw file with all the information from the dark to the upper very light areas. So I'm going to click on merge here. So right now Lightroom is creating the HDR file, and as you're going to see, there's not much going to be much difference here. So here it is. So if you look at here, you can see this is a DNG file. DNG is Adobe RAW format. So basically what does this mean is that from that merge, it creates another RAW file. So for those guys of you who don't know what a RAW file is an image that needs to be revealed. As you see here, the RAW file is very flat, and as you will see, the one created is going to be all that flat. You know, maybe there's a little more nicer sky, but I mean, there's no much difference within it. It's quite of a flat image. So those images need to be revealed. The difference between RAW and JPEG is that the JPEG is a revealed format. So what we're gonna do here in a JPEG, your camera has already done it. You can always import a JPEG within Lightroom, which is a RAW editor, but you will have very little options and very little possibility to bring the image to what you really want. So if you're getting serious about photography, I would suggest you switch to RAW and you progressively start working with RAW editors in Lightroom. So just to give you an idea of the power of RAW editing. So here in Lightroom is the basic panel. This is where 80% of the magic happens. So here you can control your highlights, which are the brighter elements, your shadows, which are the dark elements, and then whites and blacks, and then your whites and blacks, which are the more white and more black of the picture. I don't know how to say it in English. Here you can work a little bit your contrast. So let's do it in action. So I'm going to lower my highlights, and this is gonna do is that my sky is gonna become much more interesting. So usually lower it 100%. See how the sky moved from here, which were very flat, to something that's now is getting better. We're still going to work it, but at the moment we're going to do that. Then the shadow, all of this part is in shadow. You don't have that much detail, but if I open it, here, you get all the details within it. So I'm going to do my white points. So the way I do my white points is that I press the Option or Alt key on a PC, and when I start pressing my mouse on the dot, I get a black screen. So I'm going to move it to the right. Okay, until you see those little red dots, that means that those pixels are totally blown out. So I don't want to blow it out. The image was quite at this point. So I'm going to do it like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing, pressing the Alt or Control key and lowering down by blacks. Here, the black areas are plain black with no more details. I don't mind having more plain blacks because it brings a little contrast to the image, no? So basically this is it. I'm gonna see what contrast does, bring a little contrast. I'm gonna do a little gradient filter here. So a gradient filter allows you to, so this is plain effect until here, and then it starts going down little by little. So I'm gonna reset this. And I'm going to lower my highlights to get a more dramatic sky, and probably lower a little bit the exposure of it to get even more dramatic. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to try to increase a little bit my exposure. and go back in my gradient filter here, select it, and bring this exposure a little bit because I wanted a little more lights within the city, no? Okay, now let's see. I'm gonna try to color correct it a little bit. So here's the temperature. So if you go to the left, you get a colder sort of rendering, okay, more blue. And if you go to right, you get warmer tones on your overall exposure, no? So let's see how shot. I'm gonna bring it a little warmer. Yes, get the blue out of the city. And I'm probably gonna go back to my gradient filter. So this is the gradient filter. And I'm probably gonna add a little more warmth in my sky and a little magenta because I like magenta. It's a little pinky sky. I think it always looks nice, but I mean this is personal choice, no? I'm gonna add a little vibrance to the entire color, so to make the to the entire picture, just to make the image a bit more vibrant. Let's see what clarity does. Clarity is nice, but on the city. So what I'm going to do here, so those are the general adjustments. And if you want to get specifics, you have several tools. So we've been working here with the gradient filter. Here is a brush. So what this does is that it gives me a brush. I can, with the mouse, I can make it bigger, smaller. I can have the several things. Usually I set my flow to 70, density to 70 so that you don't see the strokes. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to paint a little bit of clarity within the city. Clarity is a sort of micro contrast. It works well for buildings. It can give a little grungy effects, but usually if you want to get some texture into it, it's a nice adjustment. But usually, for me at least, it gets the sky bit too textured, too contrasty, and water also. Those are elements I like to have very silky and diffuse and soft, no? So I'm going to use it. I'm going to place it here. Okay. Add on the boats and here. So let's see. If I move this up and down, so that will be without clarity. Look what it does, no? It brings a little macro contrast, no? It brings out all of this, no? So basically I don't think I'm going to do much more into this original file. So we came from that basically to that, okay, which is a powerful improvement. So I really encourage you guys to use Lightroom and shoot in RAW because you have a lot of creative power here. I'm going to remove chromatic aberration. I'm not going to change the profile correction, nor I'm going to change my horizon at this point. Here's another feature I'm going to show you guys. I don't think I'm going to use it here because those are creative style. This is camera calibration. Changes the way your computer interprets the color within the scene. It's a very powerful colorful adjustment. I usually use it for the sky to get much more vivid sky. I'm going to show you what it does here. So there's different settings you have. This will change depending on the sort of camera you shoot with. So I shoot with Sony. This is what I have available. So usually I go to camera landscapes, and this is going to give me, wow, very vivid. This is like too much. Much more warmer tones, as you can see it. I can go to camera standard, which is just a little enhancements with Adobe standards, which would be the the original one you get into when you open Photoshop. Camera standards. Well, this is a process you need to try, no? I'm not going to do it at this point because this is not the color correction is not the point. The other thing, the other little tip I'm going to show you here, if you want to saturate the overall colors in your image, what you can do is go here into the blue primary. What those levers do here is that every color is a combination of red, green, and blue. That's RGB. So you have red, green, and blue. What this does is that it saturates the blue within the color. Usually the blue slider really saturates the overall color. So here, for example, look what's going to happen here. Look at it, it got all bright. Like you have much more vivid colors. So this is a powerful adjustment. If you like some saturated colors in your pictures, you may want to try and play with it. So this being said, I'm not going to do anything here. Now let's take care of, so we have one file that's the HDR version of the merged 3 shots raw files I had shot on site, and here's the second image. So in this image, basically what we're going to do is that we're going to plug the lights within that first image. So I'm going to look at the lights, I'm going to try to get them brighter and more colorful. So basically this is the only thing I'm going to try to do here. I'm not going to look at the picture as a whole, as a piece of art, because I'm not going to process it. So I need to reset here. So this is the way it came out, no? So let's see what we can do here. Okay, I can lower the highlights. I'm going to try to boost the clarity and the shadows, get more detail. Let's see what clarity. Okay, let's see. Maybe get down. That's not as down. Okay, let's see the white points. I have some burns. That's here. Plaques. Okay. Exposure. No, I don't want to touch exposure. Let's see. Vibrance. Yeah, I get more colors. If I saturate it, no, it's too ridiculous. Warm the tones a little bit. Yes. Okay, let's go see here in camera calibration. No. Camera standards. Adobe standard. I think I like it that way, no? Or vivid? No. Too yellow. Let's keep it on camera standards. Okay, so I guess we have a nice selection of we can see the lights pretty well. Let me remove chromatic aberration. I'm sorry, I don't speak much, I'm not very used to it. So basically the idea was to get the lights a lot better. It was like that, it was pretty dark, so the idea was to get much more light into the image and into the city, no? So from this, we're done with the raw editor, so we're going to take it to Photoshop, because in Photoshop is where it happens, where you can really take the lights from this image and plug it into the other ones. So it sounds complicated, but even if you're a beginner, it's going to be very easy, okay? It's not very difficult to do. So here I select my 2 images. So I select the one we just worked from the sunset and the one we just worked from the blue hour shot, okay? So I right click here, edit in, and I'm gonna select open as layers into Photoshop. What is gonna happen right now, once I click that, is that it's gonna open Photoshop, and it's gonna put me into one image with 2 layers. As you're gonna see, I'm gonna have the blue hour shot in one layer, and I'm gonna have the sunset shot into another layer. So right now Photoshop is opening, it's starting, yeah, here. So what we have here is the blue hour shot. Here you can see in that layer, and underneath it I have my blue hour shot with the colors, with the lights. So the first thing I'm going to do is to put the blue hour shot on top of the sunset shot, okay? So as you can see, they don't seem to be pretty much aligned here. So the first step is to align both images. So I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to go in Edit and Auto Align Layers. I'm going to select Auto here. I'm going to let Photoshop do its magic. Okay, so now both of them are aligned. Well, since one is light, is night, it does look different, but they're not. They're perfectly aligned. Sometimes you may have problem with the process. For usually, if your blue hour shot is too dark, Photoshop is going to have some problem identifying that they're the same picture and the same composition. So if this happens, what you want to do is go on here. It's the adjustments layers. You select here and you select curves. You can also do it from here. Okay, you select it. So basically, you have an adjustment layer that just added here. What you do is, once you're in the adjustments, okay, properties, here you have that little box here. That means that you want to link this layer to affect only that layer that's right below it. So basically what I did here is that this adjustment layer will affect only this image, not the entire composition. So, and what you want to do is you want to brighten it, okay, so that Photoshop sees the more detail within the photo, and then you go back, you select the two layers, and you redo your auto align layers, and usually it works. What you do afterward is that you take it, put it into the garbage, and then back to normal. So, kind of think this is a little bit too yellowish for a blue hour shot. Let me review a little bit the color of it. So I'm going to go into camera raw, which is actually the same filter as the raw editor that as Lightroom, and I'm going to put some more blue into it. Okay. This was a bit too warm for a blue hour shot. So basically, we have our two layers that are aligned here. So what we want to do right now is we're going to blend the two together. For that, you have what the Photoshop calls a blend mode. Blend modes, so you have different options, okay? So I'm going to use lighten, basically. Lighten is a blend mode that takes from that layer all the elements that are brighter than the one beneath it, and they take those elements and only those elements, and they plug it, and for the rest elements, it's going to take it, the darker elements, it's going to take it directly from this image. So I'm going to put it to lighten, and as you can see, within, it kept all the lights, but all the brighter parts that came from the other photos now are plugged into it. So we do have some issues. We have some issues with the sea. We have some issues with the skies because there are some brighter elements in the skies and brighter elements in the sea. So we'll get to it right now. So basically, this is the way you use the lighten element. You use the lighten blend mode to plug in the lights into an earlier shots. This is the way you do it. So right now what we're going to have to do is what I want the sky from this one. So the way I'm going to do it, so I'm going to focus on the sky right now. I'm going to create a layer mask. So for those of you who are not accustomed to Photoshop, a layer mask is basically a mask where I'm going to paint black or white or gray onto it. Everything that is plain black is going to block me the elements from this image. So since I don't want all the blue and I want the pure sky, I'm going to simply block the entire sky from this image with it, to have the one beneath, to show the one beneath it. So I'm going to select, very important that you paint on this one. I'm going to select a paintbrush. Okay, I'm going to make sure black is my foreground color. And here's my brush. I'm going to make it bigger. To make it bigger, you have a shortcut, Control Alt or Control Option on PC. No, Control Option or Control Alt on the PC. And you click on your mouse. To the right, it's going to go bigger. To the left, it's going to go smaller. And up, it's going to be soft brush. And down is going to be a hard brush. So I want a fairly soft brush, and I want a bigger one because I have big. So right now I'm going to set my opacity to 100. Other one is going to paint gray. Gray means that it's going to take a little bit of the blue hour shot and a little bit of the one beneath it. But what I want to do is to block entirely the blue hour sky. So full black, opacity 100. Flow basically is if you're using a tablet. Right now I'm doing it with my mouse and I'm just going to paint it. And that makes the sky appear. Okay, obviously I need to work it a little more below it, so I'm going to zoom, Z to zoom. Okay, I'm going to go back to my brush, or B. I'm going to lower my brush, and then I'm going to paint right here. Okay. 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 Okay, so now what I have is whatever happens. See, right now I blocked all the blue color from the sky. I just took the sky from my image beneath it, no? So now we need to take care of the sea, okay? So, okay. So same thing, okay? I'm gonna use my brush, make it a little bigger, and simply paint black on my layer mask. So you can see here, this is my layer mask, I'm painting on it. It really needs to be selected. If I press Alt or Option, you can see my layer mask. Okay, so see here I have problematic elements. Okay, I need to zoom in a little bit. I have some blue here. B for brush, Control Option, Control Alt to make it smaller. Okay. Okay. I don't want to affect the lights, too much of the lights that are going on here. So here's going to be a problematic element because you have some reflections. So let's take care of that a little later. Let's start brushing along it. Okay, so I have problems here, here, and here. Let me problems also along there. Okay, so let's see how we can solve those little problems. So I'm going to zoom in a little more, try to brush around it. I do have some noise in this picture, so I'm going to take care of that a little later. Okay, because here you have the blue tones of the blue hour shots, and it's a sunset picture, so you want light to be very warm. You don't want to have blue elements. Okay. I'm gonna have a problem with here. Okay, let's undo that. I'm gonna see if I can work it in a different way. Okay, so basically I have three elements here with a problem, okay? I'm gonna try to change the color of this part. So first of all, I think, okay, no, so this is right. Okay, so basically I'm gonna try to do, I'm gonna click on this one, I'm gonna do a selection, I'm gonna select this area, okay, this is a rectangular selection tool, and I'm gonna go into a filter that's camera raw, again it's like Lightroom, and in camera raw I'm gonna try to tone it up, make it warmer color to see if I can get that blue out of it, and if it blends a little better within the image. Before I did that, very blue. Not very happy. Okay, I think I had. I could do a luminosity mask and things like that, but for the moment it's not, selections are not the issue. So I think what I'm going to do simply is just to brush it out, because there's the reflection of this on the water. I don't think that's that much relevance, okay? So let's brush this one out. For this one, I'm going to do this rectangular marquee. I'm going to see, going my camera around and doing just a little bit. Yeah, this one solves the tricks. Command D to deselect. Yeah. Okay, here it's a little more blue. I cannot brush, so I'm going to try to bring up more, do the same thing. I'm going to warm the overall color of this area, no? So let's see if I can do it. Again, camera raw, filter, my temperature a little warmer. Yeah. So now it's not blocking. So basically what we have here, we have some problems here. I'm just going to brush out also the lights here. I don't like the way this is happening here, no? Or maybe just tone it down. I'm gonna do curves adjustments just to tone this down. So here I go into that little round place. Those are adjustment layers. So you can adjust your colors, you can adjust your brightness. So what I'm gonna do is try to adjust the brightness lower and see if I can find a blend that's better, because here actually you had probably a car coming through, and since the road was on the upper side, so it just brightened the entire place here. So I'm gonna see how I can adjust that. Let's do curves adjustments. So I'm gonna apply it, properties, I'm gonna apply it just to the one below it. Okay, I'm gonna darken it. Okay, so I'm looking at this part right now, not the entire image. Right now it's affecting the entire image, but we're gonna mask it and just apply it to this part. So a little lower. Okay, so basically, okay. So this is the mask for this adjustments. I'm gonna press Command I because right now it's all white, so it applies to the entire image. So I'm gonna press Command I, okay, and it's all black, so it disappeared. So right now on this mask, I'm gonna paint white everywhere I want the effect to take place. So I'm gonna paint white right on this area. So X, I'm gonna press brush and 100% opacity. It's lowering down this image. Perfect. Okay. So now that's without the adjustments, with the adjustments. So I need to smoother that transition here also. So I'm gonna go back into my original layer mask, okay, and I'm gonna lower my opacity to 50%. And I'm gonna paint black into it. So I'm gonna switch here to put black as my foreground color. See how it's smoothened? So I don't have that harsh line. So right now all this part is quite harmonious. If I want to change it, I can always go to it and see how it does now if I want a little brighter, which is nice also to get a little contrast in the leaves. Okay, and my blend is almost done. Let's try a couple of things just to adjust. Maybe I'm going to try to increase a bit the light, no? Just to try to see how it happens if we make it low. So I'm going to do a curves adjustment layer again. Again, I'm going to apply it just to the one below it, which is already the case because I have that little arrow here. And I'm going to increase it, so this is going to increase the light. Yeah, it's kind of nice. Maybe a little too much, no? So I can decrease the opacity of it. What I'm going to try maybe is to see if I change a little the colors, no? If I put adding some yellow. So basically in the curves layer you can adjust the level of blue within every color, the level of green within every color, and the level of red. The complementary color of blue is yellow. So if I go down here, I take some blue out of my lights, okay? That means I'm bringing the lights more yellow. If I increase it, the lights become much more blue, okay? So let's put it a little more yellow. Okay, didn't change much. Let's put some red. Let's see if I put some reds into it. Here I add some reds. Okay. Usually I also like to take some greens out of it. So this time I'm gonna put another curves level, and I'm not gonna tie it. I'm gonna apply it to the entire image. I'm gonna take the green slider and I'm gonna take some green out of the image. It brings it a little more pink, you know? Okay. Okay. I'm not sure I really like what it did to the. I'm not sure I really like what it did to the sea, no? Affected the interior G, so I'm just taking the point out. Okay. Select this. Move with my keyboard. So that will be more green. I'm just gonna slightly take it out. So taking off the green is bringing in more pinks within the picture. That's the way Photoshop works and Adobe works. Let me see if I mask it. So here's my layer mask. I'm going to put some dark, opacity 50. Okay. Okay. Right now I'm gonna do some final touches. So basically what I like to do is to work macro contrast within a plugin that's a free plugin that's called Nick Collection. So to do that I need to merge I'm going to do a new layer that's a merge layer of the entire scene, no, here. So I'm going to do Shift, Alt or Option, Command and E together, and I'm going to get a layer here that's independent, and that's the merge of all of this, and I still benefit from all the below elements, no? So here I go to Filter, Nick Collection, and I go to Color Effects Pro 4. So it's a bit slow to start. Okay. So here's the pro contrast. So it's already done. It's a bit too much. So let's take it from start. Okay. So if I add some dynamic contrast, just a little bit, and let's see if I correct the contrast. I'm sorry, this is in French. I don't. I forgot to put it into English. So basically, this is dynamic contrast. This is correct contrast, and correct color cast. So that's if you have a color cast. Here, let's see what happens. See, since it's very warm tones, it changes it to the colder tones, bluer tones. So I don't want it because I want it to. So it corrects the contrast. So it brightens some of the parts. I'm gonna protect my highlights and protect my shadows. And yeah, doing some dynamic contrast here. Okay, so this is a bit slow, I'm sorry. I'm being thinking while I'm forgetting sometimes that I'm recording at this moment. So this is a bit slow. Yeah, so now you have more brighter, a little brighter image. Sort of sticks it together. I like what it did here. Put some lights into this area. Okay, so the last step I like to do is to sharpen my image. So for that, I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm taking my my upper layer. I'm bringing it to that little thing that looks like a page, which is a copy, and it copies it. The other way to do it is to do Command and J. Okay, but so here I'm going to do what we call a high pass filter. So I'm going to go to Filter, Other, High Pass. So this is basically what it's doing here is that it's marking all the little details, no? You can increase the radius and it's going to appear all the details better. This is going to be way too sharp. I have a 36 megapixel camera, so usually I find 3 pixels is good for sharpening, no? So what you want to do is to adapt that 3 pixel radius to the overall megapixel of your image. If you have a 16 megapixel, maybe you want to go for one pixel radius, you know. So this is a fine tuning you need to find, you know. But I find for the Sony A7R and the 36 megapixel pictures, the radius of 3 is perfectly. So basically I'm going to do that. So this is the gray with all the white elements. So I want the gray to go away and to keep all the borders, because this will all of this little water elements will pop up all the details within my picture. So to do that, I use a blending mode that's called overlay, and all the gray has disappeared. So I don't know if you can see it. So if I zoom in, okay. So if I take it off and take it on, see how all the details pop in? Actually, I'm realizing I have too much of digital noise here. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to do that afterwards. So what I'm going to do right now is denoise the image. I'm going to go, I have a plugin from ImageNomic that's called Noiseware. Okay, so here it is. So here. I have my basic settings for it. Okay. See, all the noise disappeared. I don't know if you could have seen if you could seen it in the original picture. So now I'm gonna duplicate that, J, and I'm gonna do my high pass filter. So high pass, 3 pixel radius, okay, and overlay here, much better, much better. So if you can see the details here, how it was before, that's after. It's incredible. It just makes your image pop a lot more. So basically what you don't want is to have that to sharpen the sky and the sea, because it doesn't make sense. So basically I'm going to do layer mask again, brush, and I'm going to black it out just to avoid it into the sky, take it out of the sky, and take it, I don't care about doing rough here, it's just sharpness, no? So taking it a little out, up in those areas. Okay. Okay, I think I overlapped here, so I'm going to paint white on this just to get the sharpness on this part. And voila. So basically what I'm going to do right now is going to see how, I don't know if you can see it, how it just, the city just popped out just by doing that that high pass filter. Okay, file, I'm going to save as, okay, I'm going to put it in my work YouTube. I'm going to create it. I'm going to save it as a Photoshop file because I like to get back to it, not have it translated into a TIFF file. And saving it. Right now, if I go back to Lightroom, once the save process is done, which is a little long, it should be getting back into Lightroom here in my collection. The reason why this happened is because when I imported them, I right-clicked it and asked them to open as layer in Photoshop. So basically, when I save my image and close it, then it reappears in Lightroom in my in the library, in the directory where the original files come from. But it takes a little time here. And since I'm very new to this webcasting, I'm not sure how to put it on pause, so I'm sorry for the delay. I'm not gonna sing a song for you to wait because I'm a terrible singer. And I'm a terrible dancer also, unfortunately, although I really like salsa and I live in Latin America and I should really get to it, no? Okay, looks like 93%. So let's see if, now it's loading into Lightroom. So here's the final image. There's a lot of things that can be said, no? But the idea is was to show you the blending process. I'm gonna crop it a little bit just to get those out of the way. I can also double process the image here, do some fine tuning, some light color adjustments, and it's already pretty sharp, and adjust the vibrance a little bit, and This is called double processing. Once you did it, you first processed it into Lightroom, then Photoshop, then back to Lightroom and do some final adjustments. So basically this is our final image. We came from this to this, which is quite amazing and shows you the power of Photoshop. I hope you guys have learned a lot from it. I'm available. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. This was my first video. I hope as time goes, I'm going to do much more and become much more interesting. Thank you very much, guys. Have a very nice day, and I hope you really enjoyed it.